Why did Netflix walk away? Why did Netflix walk away? That's what they're asking on CNN. We'll get there. Hang tight. The Guardian by Margaret Sullivan says Trump just got much closer to bringing CNN to heel. It says with David Ellison's Paramount Skydance poised to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, the president is tightening his grip on the U.S. media.
Yeah, sure he is.
Well, hang on, Lou. We got breaking news I think you're going to find very interesting. For many years, Donald Trump has trashed CNN and has taught his loyal followers to do the same because they're like Pavlov's dogs, according to who is this again? Miss Sullivan. What is Miss Sullivan's name? Margaret. Of course, it's Margaret. Margaret thinks you're all Pavlov's dogs if you're following the Orange Man. During the 2016 presidential campaign, angry chants of CNN sucks reverberated his campaign rallies, and he still jumps at every opportunity to disparage star CNN journalists such as Caitlin Collins. No, I think Scott Jennings is doing that okay. He charges, I just got his name in the next paragraph.
Yes.
He charges that the cable network is dishonest and biased against him, although in truth, the network goes out of its way to give voice to his lies. Oh, this is so unbiased.
Yeah, they go out of their way to have one guy out of what, 50?
Right.
Stand up for him. But that's out of their way. I mean,
but the reason we're choosing this article, Lou, is because I need everybody out there to hear this from the side that despises the Orange Godzilla, who can do no right, who can do no good. Folks, you need to understand the panic that's here. This is how they believe the world is about to work. But now, for Trump, a greater relief may be within his grasp. On Thursday, his rich and powerful friends at Paramount Skydance moved closer to acquiring CNN's parent company, Warner Brothers Discovery. It's not yet a done deal, and there are regulatory battles ahead. It's a done deal, and the regulatory battles won't matter, especially as state attorneys generals get involved. California's not going to stop this. But for Trump and his allies, the signs, they're encouraging. This is over. This is done. They're going to get it, okay? So the idea here is that because the Ellisons are somewhat centrist, that Trump owns CNN now. That's what they're trying to say, okay? Now, let me go to the breaking news, Lou, because this just came out. Are you ready for some breaking news? I bet you don't know this yet.
Always. I bet I don't.
I'm going to go to you, Lou, for this one, okay? This is breaking, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm poised on the edge of excitement here.
Okay. Well, we're excited to hear you be excited, Lou. That's a great time. All right, let's go now to CNN, because we love it when CNN covers this sort of thing. 55 minutes ago from Alejandra Jaramillo, Trump says he will attend the White House Correspondents' Dinner for the first time as president. We are now in, year 6 of opportunities to go to this, and now President Trump is going to go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. That's the big thing where the journos get together, and they have a lot of fun ripping into the Republicans or worshiping the left, okay? That's what they do. President Donald Trump has said Monday he will attend this year's White House Correspondents' Dinner, a notable reversal after boycotting the annual event traditionally attended by presidents. Quote, the White House Correspondents Association has asked me very nicely to be the honoree at this year's dinner, a long and storied tradition since it began in 1924 under then President Calvin Coolidge. The president said in a Truth Social post, added that in honor of the nation's 250th birthday, he will attend and work to make it the greatest, hottest, and most spectacular dinner of any kind ever. Trump was the first president to not attend the Correspondents' Dinner while in office, boycotting it during his first term and first year of his second. He has frequently criticized the event and the news media more broadly, at times labeling journalists the enemy of the American people, a sentiment he referenced in his Monday post. Lou, is this the case that now that CNN and CBS are no longer directly opposed to him? I mean, ABC and NBC, I guess, MS Now, they're on the other side, but
of
he's
course,
winning.
The big question, and it may have been decided, but I haven't heard, who's going to be the allegedly comic host of this event? And what will they say in their monologue?
Well, I would say that President Trump, in order to agree, has had to negotiate that, because there's no way he's going to let Jimmy Kimmel come in there and do that.
Well, but see, under the theory of the best thing to do with these idiots is, quote unquote, let them speak, that might be in his favor to let it happen. To just let him ramble on and on and on, and he smiles and says, Jimmy, come on, everybody's bored with that. And just
I'm gonna cut
it to the quick.
I'm going to bet he gets to take the stage. I bet he gets behind the mic. President Trump does not like to be at anything where he's not the focus of the attention, right?
Of course he gets to behind the mic. He gets a statement, a speech, whatever. But
So listen, I think he's feeling much.
He'll probably announced that he's decided to let the Washington Press Corps have an office in Greenland when we take over. Something that will make him crazy.
I think he's feeling empowered right now. I think this is the case. I think
so.
Yeah.
So.
Let's go to how they feel at CNN. You ready for this? Folks, here is Jake Tapper with Brian Stelter, and here's the way that they're responding now, knowing that the Ellisons and Paramount Skydance are going to own and run CNN. And by the way, what that means is Barry Weiss is almost certainly going to run CNN in the newsrooms, because why would you not do this? I mean, it just makes financial sense. The newsrooms of CBS News and CNN are likely to combine. And I don't even know that CNN keeps its name. It probably does. It probably does. But, lots of things can change. Here's Jake Tapper and Brian Stelter getting together to talk about their new bosses.
Why did Netflix walk away? Ted Sarandos and others at Netflix made it very clear. They really wanted Warner Brothers Studios, and they really wanted HBO.
AKA, they really wanted us, right? Why did they walk away?
Right, in this corporate tug of war, it seems Netflix has suddenly let go of the rope. There's a lot, of course, that could still happen here, but the big news this afternoon is that Paramount suddenly is in a much stronger position to take over CNN and the rest of the Warner Bros. Discovery company, which includes HBO and the Warner Bros. Movie Studio and all those other assets. Paramount is the company that essentially put this into play last summer. New CEO David Ellison, shortly after taking over Paramount, CBS, that part of the media world, then set his sights on WBD. And WBD CEO David Zaslav started a bidding war as a result. He sided with Netflix, the WBD board sided with Netflix for a deal that had been struck back in December, but Paramount had then launched a hostile takeover bid.
Now, you all know the hostile takeover bid has been successful.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how these people, well, of course it's us, CNN. Oh, and by the way, there's this movie studio called Warner Brothers and this HBO thing. He listed all those as if they were the subsidiaries and CNN was the core.
Because that's how they think they are.
Well, yeah, they probably think this song is about them, don't they? Don't they?
Well, they think that. Yep. Checks out. So here's what we've got, guys. It looks like if CNN is moderated in the way that CBS News looks to be moderated, 60 Minutes also, same thing, which is under the CBS News label. You've got that happening. You've also got msnow really suffering and failing under their new spinoff. You've got the situation where Fox, is just walloping everybody on cable. I think it now behooves ABC and NBC to follow this and try to moderate as well. I don't know how they can exist. They'll seem propagandistic if they don't come back towards the middle at least a little bit. And that means that a lot of these journalists, like at CNN, they've got to be friends with Barry Weiss. They got to be friends with the Ellisons because they have nowhere left to go. The Ellisons want to make this where CNN and CBS News appeal to 70% of the American people, the broad majority, the mainstream middle, the sensible center. Well, that is not how CNN is currently constituted at all. So who's going to go, guys? And what's going to happen here? Do they all play? Do they figure out how to moderate Wiz?
I don't know. I don't see a world where CNN comes to center at all. I see them moving further and further in the direction that they're already going. I don't know what they're going to have to do. And to some extent, I don't think the Ellisons are going to want to tame that because it's interesting to you like you could harness it in the same way that they have Jennings coming on and he's playing the heel and that's drawing attention to CNN, right? There is a political pull that they could still use for their gain. I just don't know what the playbook is yet, but don't count them out. Don't count out CNN as going to the center just yet, because South Park is a big example here. South Park's a big example. Everybody that is parading around on social media saying that the Ellisons are super MAGA Republicans. Really? They gave the South Park boys quite a bit of money. And the most recent season of South Park, every episode is a Trump TDS Orange Man bad episode. It's the worst South Park has ever been. So for anybody to say that the Ellisons are purely, MAGA Republicans, red hat wearing Republicans, that's just not true. These are business guys. They care about business first and foremost. Whether they're good at it or not, it remains to be seen. There's a lot of things I'm not happy with about their leadership, their leadership practices. But I think they're going to find a way to use polarization as a weapon to make money. That's what I'm waiting to figure out.
So Liz, let me get this straight from you. You don't think that moving to the middle in the news is a winner financially. You think that actually living on the edges is the sensationalism that keeps the most ardent supporters coming back and back and back and back and That's the way the system works. And it's not necessarily because of, what should we say here? It's not because this is some sort of conspiracy that came out in the news organizations to drive politics. It's the manifestation of economics.
I fully believe moving CBS to center is a strategy to play to center, but they have 2 news studios now. They don't need everything to go to center. They can appeal CNN to the fringe that it's already appealing to. Why would you change that when you know you already have a guaranteed built-in CNN audience? If anything, cut the budgets, figure out where the fat is in CNN, trim it out, and then weaponize that to continue pandering to the fringes.
Well, the only problem is the ratings are low. So the CNN ratings and msnow ratings are just not fantastic.
You can keep them low if you're not paying a fortune to keep all those people hired.
Well,
everything we're seeing with MS Now, right? We know that they were cutting budgets and they're laying people off and trimming the fat on that company just to keep it alive. I could see the same thing happening with CNN.
Well, and when you talk about cutting, it's the same thing as the Warner Brothers studio and the Paramount studio, in that what you're going to cut is not so much creative and not so much talent up front, but all of the duplicative functions of marketing and administration. And so it will be interesting to see if the same people who sold ads for CNN can sell ads for CBS, can sell ads for, you see what I mean? But to your point, I remember many, many years ago when Virginia Slims cigarettes came out. And everybody said, what are you, nuts? You're going after women? Women at that time were only 30% of all smokers. And the guy who started it said, yeah, but if I get all 30%. So it's a chunk. It's definitely there. Now I am, without any foundation for what I'm about to say, no insider knowledge, just my conspiratorial mind. I have to think to some degree, the reason why Sarandos and company backed off was the State of the Union. Because I think logical, sensible people, as opposed to pure ideologues, looked at that State of the Union and getting everybody to stay seated in those ways. They said, you know what? The midterms are over. We just lost. So why stick around and suffer? Let's get out, regroup, and figure out what we're going to do next. And in the process, all of the wackos that got us into this mess will shrivel and go away.
Well, now,
so that's just my crazy conspiracy theory. You may have yours, and you are entitled to it.
To add to that, there's reporting out there that a liaison from the Trump administration, high-ranking Republican, went to Netflix to go meet with Sarandos prior to this going down the way it did, and that the liaison went into the executive restrooms in the executive suite and found feminine hygiene products in the men's.
Yes.
And came back and said, What is this? You guys want to present yourselves as if this is crazy. This is crazy. So I'll put this back up on the screen real quick. We had it up for a second. I'm not trying to discount what you're saying, Wiz, at all. But I do want to say that Charlie Gasparino's reporting, whether right or wrong for the CNN staffers, and maybe they just panic and freak out at everything, but they're in a panic. They're in a panic, and they're freaking out because they're worried that their lives are going to change, their careers are over. Says CNN staffers are freaking out after learning that their left-leaning network's owner, Warner Brothers Discovery, will be acquired by Paramount Skydance. Top talent and low-level producers alike are apoplectic that CNN is being acquired by Paramount Skydance, the media giant that scooped up CBS last year, which tapped a 41-year-old news hound, Barry Wise, to root out liberal bias of the network. Now, CNN staffers are so panicked that the network's president, Mark Thompson, was forced to send out a memo late Thursday to tamp down the anxiety. The merger still requires a green light from Trump's Department of Justice. We know that's going to happen, among other regulatory approvals. Okay, there's Barry Wise. And how bad is it, folks? How bad is it? And again, not discounting you, Wiz. I just want, they could freak out even if there is no danger to them. You might be right.
And they rightfully would. Well, there is danger to them because there is a lot of, the word I'm using is fat, whether that's politically correct or not, but there's a lot of bloat inside of this company that is not
duplicative functions that don't need two people.
Yes,
need
exactly.
One.
So
when I was negotiating contracts and we had the year that NBC and Universal merged, and here was an HR person from NBC and an HR person from Universal, and they were both sitting there looking at each other saying, one of us won't be here next time. And that's the kind of fat that we're talking about, is you just don't need 2 or 3 or 4 people in the same job.
Now, the Ellisons are viewed as being centrist. They may be, they may not be. They may just be shrewd businessmen. But John Oliver over on Comedy Central says, how the blank do I get out of here? Like, this is the way they're feeling. I mean, the little gray rain cloud that is over CNN and Comedy Central, you know, they're unhappy. They're dissuaded. They're depressed. Andy, what do you think about this? Which way does this go? Is Wiz right? Is everything going to be all right? Is this going to move to a different direction? Does Barry Weiss come in and take charge and make it an extension, an arm of CBS News? What's going to happen here, Andy?
Everything has shifted for years. Like, there's been a stranglehold. Everything has shifted to the left. And now I think there's a course correction. I think the general public, I wouldn't say that they're going to the right according to what the mainstream thinks is right, but it's more of a course correction. They've been led down this alleyway, and then you find out that at the back of the alley, there's like some crack whores down there with diseases jumping off them, and they're like, "This is
Andy, we're not talking about MS Now right now, okay? Well, we said no discussions of MS Now.
Sorry, I got confused with the view. But I think that the country has, like, you're going to have to moderate a little bit because your audience for that far left thing is going to keep shrinking. I think that people are looking at these people now like you're completely out of your mind. They're what used to be considered just a few years ago. People were being convinced into doing very drastic, radical things to people. And it became sort of mainstream. It became all, and then like people sobered up. They looked at, oh, wow, this is really not a good look. And then the medical evidence comes in.
Andy, are you talking about the altering of the human body, especially for those who need to be told to still brush their teeth because they haven't been around for quite as long as the grown-ups? There's
that. There's also the thing with the virus of unconfirmed origin, with all the experts saying one thing, and then you come to find out that it's they've been caught with egg on their face for so long. We've created a good, healthy distrust of news and government in people. And I think more and more people are adopting this because it's so in your face. Everything that they've predicted to come true has not come true. In fact, in many cases, it's exactly the opposite. And now you're looking at this thing, you're going to get a dwindling viewership for these things. Now, is there going to be enough scraps for CNN and MSNBC to fight over? However long MSNBC sticks around until like they become like the dinosaur that they are and go extinct, they're fighting over the scraps that are falling on the floor. I don't know that there's enough of an appetite there in the public to digest all of that. I think that they're going to have to moderate a little bit because everybody's going to have to moderate a little bit. You saw this with for years, Fox was the right wing thing, but even Fox wasn't that right wing. You had to go to you would have to go to Rush Limbaugh to get a really right leaning thing. And
Fox was the establishment, right?
Yes, yeah, yes. But I think that the general audience, I mean, outside of now, I think that the people that work at CNN they've drank so much of the Kool-Aid, and they think that they are the mind and the conscience of the people. They don't understand that they're fringe, that they're out there with some really weird ideas, because they're in this echo chamber. What they see as moderation, or what we see as moderation, they would see as like a betrayal of their core values. I think you will have to change a lot of the leadership and a lot of the people. I would not be surprised if a lot of these people jump ship because of their ideological standpoints. I think that you're going to have a lot of these personalities on there that are going to be like, you know what, forget this. Scott Jennings is bad enough. I'm not going to be working with people like this.
There's one more factor. I wonder how many of the people that work at, let's say, CNN, but we could say it about the others, really in their heart know that they got the job because of their sexual orientation, politics, color of their skin, whatever, and not because they were particularly competent at it. And frankly, they haven't gotten any better at it from working there because they haven't had to, because the standard for keeping your job has become even less because, God forbid, you fire anybody who's the right kind of person. That's what they might be smelling, is that, oh my God, I'm actually going to have to produce and perform, and I can't. And therefore, what do I do? It might be that a certain amount of self-awareness, or at least awareness on a practical rubber hits the road employment basis, is reaching these people. I don't give them all up as hopeless, but they are hopeless.
Lorna, I need you to not tell these other guys something, okay? Lorna, I've saved the most fun topic for you. All right, I don't need them to know that. Just keep it between me and you. Lorna, you remember all those calls for Scott Jennings to be fired, and you remember the panelists who stood their ground and said, I may never be back on CNN again, but by golly, he's got to go. And if he doesn't, I'm going to boycott him. You'll never get me again. I'm going to say that was bad timing for them, Lauren. I'm going to say that was really, really bad timing. They're not great at picking out the time to say, I hate Scott Jennings and I won't go back on CNN. Not going to work out.
Well, Scott's secure because that's the draw. You've got to have some fireworks at the panel, and that's where they're getting it. You know, he's the foil to the rest of the group, and he's taking them all on at the same time. That's what draws in a viewer, is the conflict. On the other topics, I've got, I think, 3 points that I want to make, and I'll make them really quick. The Correspondents' Dinner, that is Trump's extension of the State of the Union. That is him going up there and saying, now, this is actually somewhat a risky strategy if something does go wrong in Iran. But if it doesn't, if the operation is concluded with all of the objectives satisfied and the relatively low loss of life, then he'll be able to get up there and they can try and tear him down. But it's going to make them look ridiculous, just like it did with everybody sitting down at the State of the Union address. The second point I would make is that if you think that the midterms are locked up, I've got a big surprise for you, because I think Trump's got a lot of things that he can say are positives, but in general, people are looking at the economy. They're not paying attention to foreign affairs. And while those foreign affairs will be to the advantage of the economy, that's later. People are feeling what they're feeling now, and I have a feeling he's going to be punished for it.
Also, Lauren, I'm not. Hang on, your points are too good. I had something I wanted to say on the first point, but let's just move to the second. Lauren, on the second point, it's not just the economy; it's also the Save America Act, and I'm being careful. I don't want to be political. That's not my job, but just recognizing what this means for entertainment and for the news organizations and all that, and they're owned by the entertainment companies. If President Trump does not get the Save America Act through, which is the voter ID system, it doesn't even matter. None of this stuff matters. It's over. It's over. So
that's
big league.
We'll talk about that later. The third point that I want to make is that I mostly agree with Fake Wizard. I think he's right on the money with the fact that I'm not sure that it's possible to clear out all of the people that you need to clear out at CNN. And if you can't do that, then it does make sense to continue to use that as the foil potentially to your other station. As he said, if you've got CBS and they're the moderate wing, and you've got CNN, which can be them fighting with each other. One of my favorite stories I ever read was about this town that had a rivalry between two auto dealers. One was a Ford dealer and the other was a Chevy dealer, and they had this thing where they had the signs out front that they were kind of in a sign war with each other, and their sales staff constantly trashed the guy across the street for being dishonest and all of this stuff. And then it turns out that when the guy who owned the businesses, he owned them both, passed away, it came out that they both belonged to him. And everybody had a good laugh about it. It allowed everybody got to feel loyal to their brand, but it was like, God, don't do business with that guy. That guy's just a charlatan. It lets them talk it up. You feel brand loyalty. It makes you more amenable to purchasing from somebody that you agree with. It lets you jack up the price a little bit because you feel good about doing business with these people. That's smart strategy. And I would also add, if that is the strategy they're going to go with, what I would be looking at is, if the people at CNN are feeling vulnerable, I'd start dangling a bunch of carrots in front of the people that are at msnow, because msnow is going to evaporate either way. So you start trying to headhunt those people and bring them into the organization, and then you've got competition within CNN. They're going to work harder to keep their jobs for less.
Lauren, are you trying to suggest we put Wolf Blitzer and Rachel Maddow together with Jake Tapper and Jen Psaki?
I'm just saying you've got to be shrewd when you're
The
figuring out how
Avengers
these.
team up.
We may not save CNN, but we will avenge it.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, that's my points.
All right.
Can
all
somebody out there with the AI skills make Jack Sparrow with some shrunken heads like Rachel Maddow and Jake Tapper?
Oh my. Oh my. Hey, last question for the panel. We brought this up briefly. Does this put pressure on ABC and NBC to moderate? I don't think Disney's going to do that. I think Dana Walden is completely committed to the politics of it, but NBC might. They might.
It depends. I think it all depends on what the reaction is to what the changes are. And if they start taking market share, that forces a rethink.
Well,
I also think it has to do with the midterms, how the midterms turn out, and how any elections moving forward turn out.
oh, if the midterms don't go the way of the Republicans, it's blood in the water, and the backlash is about to be. It will be a tsunami of vengeance from the news media and from the corporations.
But that will also lead to a counter backlash. It's going to be chaos at that point. If you think that we're in technically a Cold War period right now, it's like if both sides feel that they have been done wrong and we go to vengeance politics, it becomes an all sides firing on each other kind of thing.
Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that on me.